Valkyrie launching an exchange-traded fund tracking public companies with Bitcoin on their balance sheets, according to an SEC filing published Wednesday. The Valkyrie Balance Sheet Opportunities ETF is the latest example of mainstream financial instruments with a crypto tilt and comes at a time when about $70 billion worth of Bitcoin is sitting on corporate balance sheets. Joining us now with more is Valkyrie CEO Leah Wald. Welcome, Leah. Thanks for coming on the show. So what does this balance sheet ETF give us that the other Bitcoin-related adjacent stock ETFs don't?
Sure, and thanks for having me, Christine. It's always good to see you. The Valkyrie Balance Sheet Opportunities ETF is very specifically focused on, again, companies that are actively holding Bitcoin or transacting in it in a meaningful way. So that means no Canadian ETFs, no GBTC, very specific to investing in companies with the thesis that we care about and believe in and think will outperform the market.
Can you talk about the portfolio breakdown? And I notice you don't include public mining stocks. Maybe you can tell us why.
Sure. Unfortunately, legally, I cannot speak to the portfolio breakdown, but in broad strokes, again, those are public equities that are holding, again, Bitcoin on their own balance sheet or transacting in a meaningful way. To your point, we are not currently holding mining stocks.
All right. Well, are you still holding on to the hope of potentially getting a physical Bitcoin ETF across the finish line with the SEC?
Absolutely. And that is the holy grail, definitely for us, for a lot of the other issuers. As you know, we do have our futures-based Bitcoin ETF right now. We were one of the first to file for spot Bitcoin ETF back in January. Right now we're just waiting for guidance to come out from the SEC, trying to engage with DC, but also trying to put out strategies that make sense in the interim before that spot Bitcoin ETF is approved. The interesting thing about this ETF, the Valkyrie Balance Sheet Opportunities ETF, VBB, that we were able to launch today, is really based on conversations that we've been having for the past year with RIAs and other advisors and financial advisors. So very specific to what they've asked for, and again, what lies within their investment thesis and risk parameters for what they can actually invest in at the time. So I think that, again, we're waiting for that spot Bitcoin ETF approval. We're definitely excited at Valkyrie for it one day. I know that, most of your audience is as well. And I think that there will be a day we get that and get to celebrate. But in the interim, we also need to pay attention to what people are asking for in the market and is specifically what type of constructs they want to see in their, regulated vehicles.
Yeah, makes sense. And there is certainly a demand for a spot Bitcoin ETF. In the Congressional Hearing on the future of digital assets last week, it seemed lawmakers were confused as to why a physical Bitcoin ETF was approved in Canada and other countries, but not in the United States. How would you clear up that confusion for them?
Yeah, it's a good question. I thought that hearing was very interesting. I think it was, well presented by the, variety of crypto experts that showed up and represented the industry. I think that there obviously is pressure on the SEC given the various spot ETFs and ETPs traded around the world. But again, I think that we shouldn't hold our breath at this moment, and that the SEC and the rest of DC is still trying to wrap their heads around the various nuances in the industry. And I think that was present in the hearing last week of, their desire to understand elements from stable coins to what is DeFi, the exchanges, et cetera, before feeling comfortable with, approving a spot.